May 15th, 2023. This year's garden update. Everything's in full swing right now. We got everything planted that's going to be planted, of course. We have some, like this early girl tomato, that are ready to go to Big Bear. My daughter-in-law is going to grow the rest of this in Big Bear, and we'll see how that happens. This is unique this year because it's a grocery store tomato called I think it's called a Twilight tomato, and they're grape-sized tomatoes. They're kind of a dark red purple color. They're really tasty. I bring them for my lunch, so I thought to myself, why not try to plant them? So that's the plant. We'll see what we get with that. These are my usual Cherokee purples that I grow every year from generation seeds. These are, I think, the third generation. I don't know. I kind of lost track on that. But anyway, big plants, big tomatoes, tasty. And here is, it's a marigold. It's like a tiger striped marigold. I think it's called a sunburst marigold. And marigolds are good because they attract insects that eat the harmful insects on the tomato plant, as well as there's things in the soil which prevent a disease called root knot nematodes with tomatoes, where they get things on their roots, like nodules on their roots, and the marigolds help to prevent that. This is what is this? This is an early girl tomato. This is one of several seedlings that I planted to bring an early girl plant to my daughter-in-law in Big Bear, because Big Bear's tough to grow things, and so we have to have tomatoes that mature quickly. But anyway, that one on the table is for her. This one I have other seedlings, so I'm going to keep these in my garden this year. This is my third Cherokee purple. I only had 3 Cherokee purple plants this year with those, and the rest are early girls, like as in is what right here, small plants still. And this is a sweet pepper. Now these are something as well, like with the grape tomatoes that I take in my lunch. So I figured, well, let's grow some. There you go, there's the tomato. Now this is interesting because every year at the end of the growing season, I gather together the pots and I dump them out and I recycle the dirt, if that's possible, and then put it back in the pots. Okay, now this one, I got to the point to where I brought the pot to the pavement, and the bark was still on the top of it, and there was no plants in it. It was the end of the season, and the morning glories were all gone, and I was going to dump the pot out, and it had morning glory seedlings in it coming up again. So all I did was put the plant back here and put a trellis behind it, and I didn't touch it or do anything else, and that's what you get. So it comes back every year. All I have to do is just wait for the seedlings to come up the next year. So, and here's some more growing wild on the corners over here. Here's another sweet pepper. So we got 2 plants. Hopefully we'll get some yield from that, and another early girl. Here's a zinnia. These are regular zinnias, multicolored. These are different color zinnias. These have a little bit of a bigger flower than the rest of the ones that I planted this year. Like these ones are one of 7, 8, 9 plants that I have in the small pots of dwarf zinnias. And those flowers, here's one that's blossoming. It's not done yet. It gets bigger than this with more petals on it, but these are dwarf zinnias, and this will be covered with flowers. This is a real pretty color too. It'll be covered with flowers, and they don't get any bigger than that. They just fill out with more petals. And so these are the biggest flowers of all. Now these are sunflowers. Now these should all be extremely tall. They should go up to, these are 12 feet tall sometimes. I like to grow them to see how big I can get them. I have never been successful at harvesting seeds, however, so I'm thinking about trying that this year if I can get a plant to that stage. This is an interesting thing because every year here, just like I said in other spaces there, that morning glories grow. Okay, there used to be a planter box here last year, and the morning glories completely took over the whole planter box, and this sort of a makeshift trellis that I made for them. Now, I made a new trellis this time, which is a pole in the middle driven pretty far into the ground with a bamboo on the side, and we're going to use that as a basis for them to climb. Now, all I did was put this structure here, and this was a couple of weeks ago, and they're already climbing it. Okay, by the time this is done, this entire thing will be completely covered with morning glories, and it'll go up as tall as it will want to, and then twist around at the top. So I might extend the pole. I don't know. I might just let's see how it's going to grow up naturally like that. But that's the deal. These are peas. These are peas that were grown in the classroom of my preschool class that I am a part of. And the kids planted these seeds, and I planted them here, and we'll see what we get. Not real familiar with peas, and so I'm doing the best I can to try to contain them properly. Okay. Here's some more of the dwarf zinnias I told you about. These are carrots. Now, gophers decimated my last carrot bed, came up right underneath through the chicken wire that I had on there, and pulverized this bed. Now, the gophers seem to have gone on somewhere else, or they're not here anymore, so we're going to call it good, and I replanted the carrots. Okay. This is delicious spinach. It came up, this was also decimated by gophers, but this part was not affected, and the spinach grew. The lettuce was messed up, so I replanted that. And on this side we had radishes. Now, half of the radishes have already been harvested. I'll put pictures of that up later, but the new one's coming up, and I'm going to plant on the blank side here. I'm going to plant some more on that side, so I just keep getting radishes. And last but not least, not the fountain, that's pretty though, we have something new. These are beans. These are guaranteed by one of my co-workers to be tender beans, tender green beans, and so I'm giving them a pot of their own and a trellis, and these are vine beans, so they'll grow in vines, and we'll see what we're going to get for the vines. Overall, it's a really beautiful garden so far. We're still kind of getting started, but everything's growing really fast.